Hi, this is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, and I'm here with another Friday Reads. As usual, I am fully immersed in Big Book Summer and really enjoying it. If you haven't heard of it yet, there is still plenty of time to join the fun. We've still got more than a month of summer left, and it's very simple. A big book is simply any book with 400 or more pages, all types, all formats, everything counts. Audiobooks, ebooks, print books, graphic novels, middle grade, any kind of genre, whatever you like. If it's got 400 or more pages in print, then it counts. It's a big book. And then you set your own goals, whether that's reading one big book by the end of the summer, or two, or doing what I do and picking out a whole stack to get through. And this is the 10th anniversary of Big Book Summer Challenge. So it's a special year, and that's why I had some fun products made up like this mug. You can check those out at the link down below, as well as all the details on how to sign up for the challenge. It's very simple, it's a lot of fun, and there are a whole bunch of us really enjoying not just reading our big books, but chatting about them online too. So check it out down below, and I hope you'll join the fun. So last week was even more fun because Saturday was my birthday. And as usual, I got a couple of books for my birthday. Yay! My husband knows me very well, and he got me two books I've been dying to read. The first is Walden by Henry David Thoreau. I have never read any Thoreau. I don't know, perhaps I read an essay in school at one point, but other than that, I've never read any of his books. So earlier this spring, and I talked about it here on the channel, I read a book called 6 Walks. Following the Footsteps of Henry David Thoreau, something like that. I might not have the subtitle exactly right. The author is Ben Shattuck. This was one of the choices for Booktopia, an event I go to in Vermont every May. And so I got to meet Ben, who is a really great guy. And this book that he wrote is a memoir of his own struggles in life while he was attempting to retrace Thoreau's footsteps in these 6 sort of iconic walks that he had written about. And so the book it's a memoir, it's beautiful nature writing, and it includes excerpts from Thoreau. So it really made me want to read Thoreau for myself. Highly recommend 6 Walks. I'll link down below to the book and to one of my video reviews of it. And I'm looking forward to reading Walden. The other book my husband got me is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. Probably my #1 book that I want to read right now. And I can't wait to dive in. I don't know if I'll finish Big Book Summer first, or if I'll find time in between my big books for this. It's actually not very long. So I love Emily St. John Mandel. Of course, I loved Station 11. I only recently, just this spring, read The Glass Hotel, which was excellent. And again, I'll link down below to both the book and my review of it. This is a separate story, but it has some of the characters from The Glass Hotel. So that appealed to me. And I loved Mandel's writing. I already know that. And then to top it off, this book involves time travel. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I love time travel plots. Anything that plays with time, really. And this one sounds right up my alley. So I can't wait to read my birthday gift, Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. And now on to what I'm reading this week. As I said, I am currently immersed in Big Book Summer, and my current big book is The Overstory by Richard Powers. So as I said in the intro, a big book is anything with 400 or more pages. This book happens to have about 500 pages. It's been on my shelf for about a year and a half. My husband gave it to me for Christmas 2020, I guess. It was in my stack for Big Book Summer last year, and I didn't get to it. I always choose more than I can possibly get through. So I am so glad I finally picked this up. So this book, it's won the Pulitzer Prize. It won the National Book Award. It was a finalist shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. And in addition to that, the year that it was published, 2018, I think, it was on like every published top 10 list. So I've been meaning to read it for ages. Lots of my friends have said it was wonderful, and I'm finally getting to experience it for myself. So I knew it was about trees and nature, which again is up my alley. I love nature. I love the outdoors. And since it won all these prestigious awards, I was kind of expecting that, okay, it's going to be wonderful and beautifully written, but maybe a little slow. It really isn't, not at all. It's a very unique book. It's a set of separate but interconnected stories, each about a person or a family and the tree or trees that kind of grow and develop alongside them, or in some cases, the trees that affect their lives. Now, I know that probably sounds a little strange, so to give you an example, the very first story in here, let me see what the name of it is called Nicholas Hole, and at the beginning of each chapter, you've got the character's name, the main character, and a little drawing of a tree. And in this case, it is an American chestnut tree. So this obviously takes place or begins quite a while ago, early 1900s, I think. It might even be late 1800s. So as the story opens, the young man whose name is mentioned as the title, this is his like great-grandfather. His name is Jorgen Hole. He's living in Brooklyn, and he's only recently arrived in the country. He's a recent immigrant from Norway. And at the time, it was a big deal when the chestnuts were ripe on the chestnut trees. New York was filled with chestnut trees, and when they were ripe, people would just go and gather them, just in huge amounts. And so Jorgen goes to the grove of chestnut trees, and there he proposes to his girlfriend, Vi, who's a recent immigrant from, just checking here, from Ireland. And the two of them, this is this wonderful celebratory night for all New Yorkers when the chestnuts are ready and everyone goes out to gather them. And it's like the perfect time for him to propose. And he and Vi get married. And eventually they head out west and they settle in, I think it's Iowa. Now, they're getting settled in their new house. It's Iowa, so it's very flat. There aren't a lot of trees around. But Jorgen finds some chestnuts still in the folds of the clothes that he was wearing that night in New York. So he plants them. And so the story follows Jorgen and Vi and their children and their children's children and their children's grandchildren. It follows the whole family through the generations. And as the family grows, only one chestnut survives. This is right at the beginning. But the chestnut tree grows as well. And of course, you probably know what happened to the American chestnut. There was a fungus that came over from overseas, completely wiped out the chestnuts on the East Coast. So this one single chestnut growing all by itself on their plot of land, on their farm, next to their farmhouse, is a really amazing thing over the years, because most of the chestnuts in the US have died out. And the tree grows as the family grows. So that's how this book goes. Each chapter is a separate story about a person or a family, and a tree or trees that sort of represent them and grow with them and affect their lives. I know it sounds a little weird, but it's beautiful, and it's very well written. I'm about a third of the way through now. I'm finding the individual stories of people and families. I'm just fascinated by each one. It's sort of like reading a really great book of short stories, but they're all connected by the trees. And now that I'm getting a little further in, I'm finding out that they're not necessarily separate stories. There are some sort of hidden connections that only come to light later. And again, in parallel with the trees, there are a couple of researchers in the book who discovered that trees communicate with each other. And this is all true, that they are all linked in an underground network, not just of the same species, but that a forest is basically one living organism. They connect by their roots. They communicate by the pheromones that they put out. So you're getting this information about the trees, but it's all in parallel to stories about these humans. I'm loving it so far. It's very good. It's actually quite compelling, and I look forward to reading it every day. So that's The Overstory by Richard Powers. And on audio, I'm listening to another big book. Yes, audios count too. And that is The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. That's just barely a big book. It's got 400 pages in print. I am really enjoying this audiobook. So I enjoyed Peng Shepherd's first novel last year or the year before. I also listened on audio. That was The Book of M. That was like an apocalyptic kind of a story. This one's very different. So the main character is a woman named Nell. She is a cartographer or map maker, as is her father. And they used to both work for the New York Public Library. Very prestigious job. She loved it there. And one day she was looking for new projects. She dug through just some old maps that seemed like they were kind of throwaways. And she found this, like, the New York Public Library has all these amazing historical maps. But among all that, she found this old 1930 gas station map of New York State. And she didn't understand what it was doing in there. And she showed it to her father and started looking into it. And her father got so angry with her that he not only cut off his ties with her, but he had her fired from her job. He was in a very prestigious position there, so he had that power. And so Nell was fired. All of that happened like 7 years ago. So now Nell's working at her job for kind of a lesser map company, and she gets a phone call that her father has died at work. And very soon they realize that the circumstances are suspicious and that it could have been murder. Now Nell finds hidden in his desk in a secret compartment that only she and her father knew about, that same cheap folded gas station map that she and her dad had fought about. And this just blows her mind. Why would her father have saved this map that caused so much trouble, that destroyed their relationship? So she begins looking into the map, and it's a mystery. Things get dangerous pretty quickly. She connects with some other people who work on maps, other cartographers, including her ex-boyfriend. She, as she's investigating this strange little map, she also ends up investigating her own family history and all kinds of secrets from her past that she didn't know about. So, and I should mention, because this kind of surprised me, there is an element of magic to this novel. So I'm not a huge fantasy lover in terms of like fantasy that takes place in a whole different world with everything made up. My son loves that kind of epic fantasy novel. That's almost all he reads. For me, the only kind of fantasy I usually enjoy is something set in the real world that has an element of magic or fantasy. And that's what this is. It is real life, New York City, New York State. I'm from New York State, but with this element of magic that comes in, it's just wonderful. It's compelling. It's suspenseful. There are so many surprising plot twists. So I definitely recommend The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. I'm really enjoying it. So that's what I'm reading this week. I would love to hear what you're reading. Let me know in the comments down below. Tell me what you plan to read this weekend. And if you're interested, check out the information on Big Book Summer and sign up to join the fun.